iron in their soul. And I don't think it's because God needs to rest, because God doesn't get tired. I think he was teaching us a lesson, what he wants us to do as men. He wants us to be working every day. Right? We can't call ourselves men if we're not working. It doesn't mean working a job, because sometimes I understand you get laid off or you can't find a job. I get all that. I've been through that too. That's just the way it goes. I'm not talking about that. But you're working on something. Right? You're working at something every day. You're not just waking up every day wasting your life. I hope not. You need to be doing something consistently to go forward in life. And when you're doing that, you know yourself. You're not really happy with yourself when you're not accomplishing anything. Do you feel fulfilled as a man when you're not accomplished? No, you don't. Because what's going to happen is you're going to feel that lack because of those decisions. And also you're going to be forced to see other men who are being diligent, who are working hard, making moves. And then the jealousy creeps in, right? Now you having that regret and that animosity. And this is one reason why we're starting to see so many people out here get robbed too, by the way. Drop that piece real quick. That's why so many people are being robbed right now, because the have-nots are jealous sometimes and hateful towards those who have it. So you have the haves and have-nots. So those who have things right now, there is an army of people who are watching them who are hateful and jealous and want to take what they have. And that's something that, one of my aunties taught me a long time ago when I was a teenage boy. If you don't work, you're going to steal. Right? So if we're not hard workers, if we're not being diligent, you're going to want to take from somebody else, because we all have needs. You're going to need to eat. You need to live somewhere. You got to have clothes, food, and shelter. And all of that costs money. So a solid trait of manhood is hard work. And by the way, we're talking about this briefly. I think all 25 of these can be a talk by themselves, obviously. Right? All 25 of these points could be a talk by themselves. So I want to make that clear too. This is not a thorough explanation of each point. This is an overall big picture type of talk. Because I know some of you guys, okay, Iron, you left this out. I understand that. Okay? You can spend a whole hour talking about hardworking men. You can spend a whole hour talking about learning from older men. That's not the point of today's video. I may do that eventually. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. But as of now, I'm giving you an overall big picture teaching. Okay? So hard work is a characteristic of a real man. Number 8, doing uncomfortable things regularly. All right? You say, okay, all right, what are you talking about? That's part of being a man. We have to do uncomfortable stuff. If we want to be men, that means we have to be strong enough to have an uncomfortable conversation, right? Going to the gym is sometimes uncomfortable. You are in pain. Getting tattoos is painful. Taking a cold shower for your health and for discipline purposes is uncomfortable. Holding on to your seat as a man is sometimes uncomfortable. Right? Working outside in the hot sun. For you guys who are playing sports, sometimes it's uncomfortable. That practice is hot. You're out in the cold. You're driving a truck for 10 hours. Right? Working somewhere in a factory for 10, 15 hours. Well, maybe not 15 hours, but 8 to 10 hours. Playing various sports for you guys who are athletes. Working your business from home. If you are a businessman, you're going to have some uncomfortable moments in that business world. I know about that too, working for a non-for-profit for almost 10 years. It was uncomfortable sometimes, right? Those business meetings, those emails, the workplace bullying. So as men, we have to get used to doing uncomfortable stuff on a regular basis. And we can't let it break us. We have to be careful that we don't let that make us cold and cruel. Because this is what happens to some men. That uncomfortable stuff we all go through, for some guys, I've noticed this, it makes them a cold fish. And so basically, they become a jerk to everybody. You become like a grouch. And you don't want to do that. Do not let the uncomfortable and the challenging mess you up. We have to learn, once again, and that's why the humility is so important. It's because in the midst of this hard work, discipline, faith in God, learning, and the pressure that's on our shoulders, right? This is all pressure, by the way. Feeling that pressure, we have to learn how to manage that pressure, right, in a way where we're not making people uncomfortable. There are some men who just make other people uncomfortable because they know how to talk to people, their energy, their vibe, their aura says, let me stay away from this guy. And you don't want to be that guy. So a part of manhood is doing the uncomfortable things regularly. Now, what that may be for you, I don't know. Every man has figured out for himself. And I'm not saying to do it just for the sake of doing it. Don't just be crazy, because some guys do that too. Some guys like pain, you know what I mean? Cracking bottles on the head, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying just be reckless, because sometimes some of you guys are going to mess this up with being reckless. Some men are just reckless. Don't be reckless, but be strong and be okay with doing stuff you don't like. That's all part of our manhood and our experience and our journey. Number 9, being bold. Right? Being bold is a mark of manhood. The Bible says in Proverbs that the righteous are bold as lions. So there's a message there. There is a supernatural boldness that is imparted to you by the Most High and by the angel's help, I will say too, when you are righteous. You see, when you are a righteous man, that gives you the confidence you need to speak up. Again, we're not saying to run over people. We're not saying to be overly assertive, but you're bold enough to take charge of the situation. You have enough confidence in yourself to go out to the world, and sometimes you'll get punched in the face. Not in a physical sense, but, figuratively speaking. When you go out to the world, people are going to punch you in the face. That's just the reality of life. Whether it be through insults, whether it be through a harsh conversation, being rude, being condescending. There's just, what I'm learning, there are a lot of people right now who are just at a low vibration, right? And you can't internalize that. I remember just taking my family to the mall just a few weeks ago, for Christmas season like everybody else, going to various stores and letting the kids take pictures of Santa Claus and whatnot. And there are a lot of people who are just rude, off-putting, avoiding eye contact. And of course, it offends you, as it should, as a person. But I have to realize that has nothing to do with me. There are people out here who are just not right, who are operating in their root chakra in a low vibration. And when you understand that, you can carry yourself in a way where you're poised, you're calm, you're bold, you speak up when you need to. And this is a mark of manhood. So being bold really is talking about also risk-taking, right? You're willing to jump out there and take some calculated risks. We cannot be successful or really prosper without taking some risks. We can't play it safe all the time, guys. So you got to jump out there sometimes. And what's been my experience doing this as a man, sometimes you're going to get embarrassed. Sometimes you will be embarrassed. That's okay. You'd rather be embarrassed and get the experience than to be timid and passive your whole life, right? Get your head out the sand. You can't be an ostrich. Get in the game. If you get in the game, what's going to happen? You're playing football, right? You're going to get hit. But you're in the game, right? You're either going to get hit or you're going to do some hitting. But you'd rather do that than to be on the bench doing nothing. You follow me? You draw? So life is like a game of football. We got to get in the game. You're going to get some hits. It's going to be some punishment. It's going to be some pain. But we got to jump out there. And this has also been documented, right, as a study in the correlation between testosterone levels and risk-taking in men in terms of finance. Men with higher testosterone levels are more apt to take some risks, to be bold, right? And this is why sexual discipline, I'm going to get to that dimension. That's number 19, by the way. I'll get to that 19, sexual discipline. It's so important because that discipline helps you to utilize your testosterone, which will push you or pull you towards your goals and make you more driven and bold, risk-taking, jumping out there, getting in the game, putting your hat in the ring, so to speak. All these different analogies mean the same thing. You're getting yourself involved, right? You're not just sitting back watching life pass you by, because that can happen. If you're not careful, life will just pass you right by. You got to open your mouth. Closed mouths not get fed. That's true. Sell yourself. Message people who are about something. You're trying to get into a world, connect with people in that world, right? Get bold. I had someone ask me recently, hey, man, how did I meet so many different hip-hop people? I've only been rapping for a year or two. Now, I already have several contacts for people who make beats, other artists. I've done some live performances. I've done some collabs. Why? I'm jumping out there. Okay, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to jump out there. Same thing with preaching. When I was preaching at churches, I had several contacts. I reached out to people. I went to conferences. I made phone calls. I did what was necessary to get into those doors. So if you're trying to get into an environment as a man, you have to be bold. Other men are not going to respect you if you're timid, man. That's just the reality of the matter. Learn how to assert yourself the right way, right? You don't want to be overly assertive, but you do want to be assertive, right? You do want to have good body language. Know how to introduce yourself to other guys. Know how to give a decent handshake. That's all important. Have confidence in yourself, man. If you go somewhere looking timid and uncomfortable and insecure, guess what? That's exactly how they're going to treat you. And I've been through that too, by the way. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and cap for a YouTube video. There have been times in my life, I'm being honest with you as a man, when I was not as confident as I needed to be. And when I lacked that confidence, people ran over me. And so I learned from that how to increase my confidence the right way. And once I began to do that and carry myself that way, people began to treat me that way. People will treat you how you carry yourself. So when you have that boldness or the risk-taking ability that comes from high testosterone, confidence in yourself, knowledge and skill, and sometimes wealth, then that is a true mark of a man. Number 10, courageous. Now, courage is a little distinct from being bold. Courageous means you're not ducking danger, right? This is why people admire athletes or even rappers. They have this aura, vibe that says, I'm not ducking danger. I'm going to stand on what I need to stand on. I'm going to go and fight. This is why we like boxers, mixed martial arts, guys who get in the ring and fight. Even though we ourselves may not want to do that, we respect that display of masculinity online. So we enjoy watching a good fight, a good basketball game, football game. Why? Because a good athlete has to be courageous. If you are afraid of danger, you're going to be a terrible basketball player. You're going to be a terrible football player. You're going to be a terrible rapper, right? Or anyone like that, right? If you want to be an actor, you got to be courageous. If you want to be any type of personality, you have to be courageous. It takes a level of courage for me to get online and do these videos, right? In 3 years doing this, I've received a lot of love and encouragement. But with that love, there's been a lot of hatred. Threatening emails, people reporting my stuff, talking about my content, they don't like it, it's mid, blah, blah, blah. You got to be bold enough to take that stuff, right? You can't let that danger stop you from where you need to go. So the Bible says, from a biblical perspective, this is Paul speaking. He says, this great door has been opened to me, but with it are many adversaries, right? This is Paul speaking, the Apostle Paul. So what is Paul saying? Paul is saying, with this opportunity is also a lot of enemies. And that has been my experience, my friend. Whenever you have an opportunity, there's a bunch of people right there with knives in their back pocket aimed at you. You need to understand that. Whenever opportunity comes, there are enemies right there. And so the courageous man, the bold man, the strong man, the God-fearing man, the disciplined man, the consistent man, right, is able to meet that danger by being courageous. And when you can do that, this is how you win wars, battles, right? Life sometimes is a battle, it's a war. And when you win the war, you get the wealth. The wealth comes after the war, huh? So if you don't want to fight, you're not going to have nothing, my boy. You're not going to have nothing. You got to fight. In this world, ain't nobody can give you nothing. You got to take it. You did? You draw? So when you fight, and that war is based off of wisdom, by the way, huh? Wisdom, war, wealth. Wisdom, war, wealth. So first you get the wisdom, the knowledge. You read, you reflect. By the way, talking about MC, Nas, in my opinion, is one of the greatest MCs of all time. I watched a documentary about Nas. Did you know that Nas read hundreds of books before he started rapping? I can tell from listening to his rap music. He was a very knowledgeable person. So he gained that wisdom first. Same thing with Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur had been to school. He read books about history, poetry, acting, arts, and etc. Anybody who's great, they had to learn first. Malcolm X, we talk about Barack Obama, we talk about Prince. Anybody that we respect as a great anything. Steve Jobs. You know, Tom Brady, anybody we respect. Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee would read books while he was working out. He would get bored. He would do curls with dumbbells while reading books. You draw? So I don't care if you're Asian, white, black, I don't ain't about none of that. Hispanic, African, I don't care who you are. All men, first, we learn first. So that this is why, guys, you have to make learning a priority for yourself in 2023. Because you can't fight without the wisdom. That's what some of us are doing, and we're not winning. This is why coaching is important. This is why consultation calls are important. This is why having a mentor is important. This is why reading books is important, taking classes. All of that is you accumulating wisdom so you can go to war. Going to war without wisdom, you're going to get defeated. That's simple. So how do you get wisdom? Let's talk about it. Taking courses online. Don't have to be college, but it could be a guide you're following, whether it be finances or fitness or business. They all have classes now at this point. Maybe I should have one too, because everybody got one, except for me. Everybody got one now. Classes, books, documentaries, having a mentor, going to college if you want to, if you need to do that. You get the point. There are a variety of ways that we as men can accumulate wisdom. And a big part of it, for me, is disciplining yourself to sit down and read. Never underestimate the power of self-education. You sit down in a quiet room as a man and reading something consistently, you will become wiser and wiser each day. So from that place of wisdom, you war, and from that war, you accumulate your wealth. Number 11, assertive. Being assertive is a clear mark of manhood. Right? Learning how to articulate yourself. Speak up. Developing an elevator pitch. What is an elevator pitch? It is essentially you explaining what you do as a man in a short conversation, such as one you would have on an elevator with a man or woman. So being able to really quickly say who you are. People respect that because it shows confidence. It shows self-awareness. Right? Your ability to communicate can open a lot of doors for you. You have to sell yourself in this life. And for some of you guys who may not be that good at that, you got to practice. You have to practice. And sometimes saying less is better. Communicating doesn't mean you're just giving your life story, but it means you're giving potent information briefly in an articulate way that people can respect. And if you can do that consistently, you'll be fine. Being assertive means you speak up when something's not right. Right? You don't let people just run over you. You pull people to the side and say, you know what? This is really what happened. That's not what it was. Speaking up. You don't just let people run over you. You're a man. I'm going to say it flat out. You're a man, Buddha. In my Buddha voice. You're a man, Buddha. Don't let people run over you. Don't let people just consistently just punk you. Stand up for yourself. I'm not saying you got to fight everybody, because part of manhood is also choosing your battles wisely. You don't have to fight every battle, because you'll be fighting every day. Multiple times. This world's full of fools. So you pick your battles wisely, but you speak up when it's necessary. And you also impart knowledge to others when it's necessary. So being assertive is a very key part of your manhood journey. Is you basically manifesting your personality. If you have a personality, manifest that. Show the world who you are. You're right. Be proud of who you are as a person. You have your individuality, you see? So being assertive is different for each person. Some people are assertive by being charismatic, by cracking jokes and laughing and smiling and engaging people. That's their form of being assertive. So assertive doesn't just mean you have to dominate people. That's what some of you are hearing probably. No, it just means you know how to communicate. You know how to show the world who you are. And if you are a dominant person, then be dominant. If you are more of a charismatic type person, be charismatic. Be who you are, right? Be yourself. So to me, being assertive it means you're confident enough as a man to be yourself before the world. So this is just your big brother Iron saying, be yourself, my boy. Be who you are. Stop hiding. Stop being timid. Stop letting people intimidate you, run over you. Be yourself. That's the best way to be assertive. If you try to be somebody else, it's going to come off as awkward and off. So consistently being yourself, which means you're proud of who you are, You've worked at developing your personality. And when you show that to the world, that should work well for you. Number 12, are you still with me? If you're still with me, say, we're still with you. If you're still with me, say, I'm still with you. Number 12, good posture. That is a mark of manhood. You guys have heard me share the story before. I'm going to share it again. I'm sure you're probably tired of it at this point, but it goes well with this talk. My grandfather, who is 6'6", over 300 pounds, large man, he always has solid posture. He stands up with his back straight, where no matter where he goes, he makes eye contact with people when he needs to. He has that very strong aura. When I was in my early 20s, or maybe even mid-20s, I didn't quite have that posture down yet. And my grandfather, he imparted that dignity to me. He gave me that sense of dignity. And he says, grandson, he said, I want you to see this. So he stood up. He had his back straight, hair straight forward. He said, you see this? I want you to do the same thing now. And he made me stand up and straighten my back up and walk like that. Do you know I have been doing that for 10 years now? I walk into a room with my back straight, my head up, and I tell you, that intimidates a lot of people. I don't know what it is about a 6'2" black man walk to a facility with his back straight, bearded, looking right at you. People automatically think boss. You give off a boss energy when you do that. You hear me? So I'm trying to give you some game, guys. Listen to me. If you were like me when you're in your 20s and you kind of have bad posture, and I see all the time, I see young men. Whenever I see a young man with bad posture, I want to tell him so bad, straighten your back up, man. I think I'm going to start doing it. Someone might get mad. Straighten your back up. Have confidence in yourself. Because having good posture, that is, listen, this is why they call it body language. That communicates a message about you before you even open your mouth up. Before you even open your mouth, your body language says this guy has confidence in himself. Don't walk to no room with your back all slouched, head down. Stop doing that. You are a man. Make people respect you. I don't care where you work, how much money you got, ain't about that. Your man is not listen, your manhood is not dependent on how much money you got. I don't care if you're going to a grocery store with your last $50, straighten your back up. You understand? Have respect for yourself. Because when you respect yourself, you almost force people to respect you or challenge you. It won't be neutral. This has been my experience. By me respecting myself, it draws one or two responses. People either respect me or they try to challenge me or undermine. So be prepared for that. Because your confidence and boldness is going to offend people. So they want to think, who is this guy think he is? I'm going to go ahead and challenge him, see if he really is what he said he is. Right? So people are going to test you. So if you have that good, strong body language, it will garnish either respect or a challenge. And you have to be ready for both. You will be amazed at the opportunities that will come your way by having good posture. Solid body language. And body language isn't just, your body language. It's also your the way you groom yourself. Having your hair cut or hair combed if you have long hair. Having on nice clothes that fit. Don't have to be very expensive, but they're clean and they're fit. It looks good. Cologne on. Just some simple things. Having on some clean, fitted clothes, some good shoes, and a haircut or your hair done, with your back straight, and some cologne on. That communicates a message when people see you. And that will govern how they respond to you. Number 13 kind of goes along with this one. Having a firm handshake. Shaking people's hand like a man. You don't want to give people no flimsy handshake. You don't want to, and again, this takes balance because you don't want to overdo it and offend people. I've seen guys do that and it just comes across as awkward and weird, to be honest. Squeeze somebody's hand too tight. That's weird. But knowing how to give a brief, firm handshake communicates strength. That's what I do. I kind of give them a tight squeeze briefly and let go. Right? Trying to teach you something. I'm not sitting there holding somebody's hand, trying to have a strength competition. That's stupid. That's immaturity. When I shake a man's hand, I'm giving him a brief shake, firmness, and boom, we're done. That communicates your strength, your manhood. It kind of gives people an indication of what type of guy you are. If a man gives me a weak handshake, this doesn't leave a good image of him in my mind. It doesn't. But when a man gives a firm shake, it gives me a little more respect for him. So if it gives me a little more respect for him, then that means when I do it, it gives people a little more respect for me. Right? So I know, as basic as that sounds, that's important, guys. That's all part of how you govern yourself when you're dealing with other people. Whether you're going to look for a job or you meet someone's family, let's say you got a girl you're dating and you meet her dad. You don't shake his hand flimsy, you're going to think you're weak. You give him a solid handshake, you make eye contact, and you show this man that you're a man too. You're just a younger man. He may be 45, 50 years old. This is his daughter, but you're showing him that I'm a man, right? My daughters are young. They're 2 and 4. When my daughters are 20 and 25, and they bring a man home, I want him to show me he's a man. So if he comes home and he shakes my hand, makes eye contact, has good posture, can speak well, right away I have a good first impression of him. Okay, he's carrying himself like a young man, and I can respect that. Number 14, and this is important. This is something you may have to do from time to time. This is life. Knowing when to ask for help versus a handout. Knowing when to ask for help versus a handout. We all fall on hard times in life. And this is not something you do every week or every year for that matter. But let's just say within a 2 to 4 year period of time, there may be something that happens within a 2 to 4 years when you get into a financial jam. You are in a bind. And it's nice to have a friend or family member that can help you versus give you a handout. That means that they can give you something that you need at the moment, and you do the responsible thing and pay them back when you can. That's what men do. So it's nice to have friends that you can help, as well as friends that can help you. That is a part of friendship. Not someone you're using and they get money from you every week. I ain't talking about that. That's just using a person. But when something bad happens, the Bible says it's good to have a friend you can lean on. This is scripture. This is found in the book of Proverbs.